Picture the scene. You are sitting in the lavish, climate-controlled executive suites of the Indiana Fever front office. The mahogany desks are polished. The corporate marketing schedules are neatly printed out. The public relations team is patting themselves on the back, completely convinced that they have total, undisputed control over the narratives surrounding their billion-dollar franchise. They genuinely believe that if they just post a few heavily edited slow-motion practice videos, slap a generic motivational quote on a graphic, and tell the fans what to think, the masses will simply fall in line, buy the overpriced merchandise, and blindly cheer for whatever product is thrown onto the hardwood. But they were dead wrong. Because outside the walls of that executive suite, out in the real world, a massive, highly organized, completely unapologetic rebellion was quietly brewing. And over the last 48 hours, that rebellion officially kicked the doors off the hinges, stormed the digital castle, and completely hijacked the entire Indiana Fever marketing machine. Welcome back to WNBA She Serves. You already know exactly why you clicked on this video. If you are sick and tired of the mainstream sports media networks covering up the locker room drama with corporate fluff, if you are exhausted by the polite, sanitized narratives that completely insult your intelligence as a basketball fan, you have found your absolute sanctuary. We do not sugarcoat the reality. We do not protect the front offices. We give you the raw, high-octane, uncompromising analysis that you actually deserve. Grab a seat, lock in, and turn your volume all the way up to the maximum level. Because today, we are surgically dissecting the absolute nightmare scenario currently unfolding for the Indiana Fever Public Relations Department. We are breaking down the raw, undeniable, hidden metrics of the opening day roster reveal that proves the old WNBA establishment is completely dead. We are exposing the digital massacre that occurred when the team tried to force-feed the fans a congratulatory post for head coach Stephanie White. And we are analyzing exactly why the executives are absolutely terrified of a fan base that they no longer control. Let us immediately set the context, because the mainstream WNBA media establishment has been trying to gaslight you for months. They have been desperately pushing a carefully constructed narrative that the new wave of Caitlin Clark fans are just casuals. They want to convince the world that these fans do not understand the complexities of professional basketball. They want to aggressively push the narrative that any legitimate criticism of head coach Stephanie White's tactical decisions is simply the result of toxic internet trolls, angry podcasters, and YouTube algorithms. But the truth is far more dangerous for the league executives. The undeniable truth is that Fever Nation is wide awake. These fans are highly educated consumers. They watch the game film. They analyze the floor spacing. They understand the mechanics of a high-paced pick-and-roll offense. And they absolutely, unconditionally refuse to sit quietly in the dark while an incompetent coaching staff actively tries to park a generational, era-defining point guard in the corner to play off the ball as a mere decoy. And if you want absolute, concrete, mathematical proof that the fan base has officially taken over the narrative and rejected the corporate spin, we need to look no further than the official opening night roster reveal. A few days ago, the Indiana Fever social media team finally locked in their 2026 active roster. They announced the 12 women who will carry the championship hopes of Indianapolis. Kelsey Mitchell, Maisha Hines-Allen, Raven Johnson, Aaliyah Boston, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, Damiris Dantas, Justine Pissett, Michaela Timpson, Caitlin Clark, Monique Billings, and Tyasha Harris. On paper, it is a roster built to run. It is a roster built for pace, space, and elite three-point shooting. But instead of just posting one generic team photo, the Fever marketing department decided to post individual graphics for each specific player, displaying their jersey numbers and hyping them up for the upcoming season. And this is where the massive, multi-million-dollar reality check completely shattered the front office's illusions. Because when you look at the raw view counts and engagement metrics on those individual posts, it gives you a completely unfiltered, brutally honest look at who actually controls the financial economy of this franchise. The front office desperately wants to push a team-first, equal opportunity narrative. But the modern consumer votes with their clicks, their time, and their attention. Let us break down these exact metrics, because they are absolutely fascinating. Caitlin Clark's official roster post generated 378,000 views almost immediately. That is a massive, staggering number. But it is also exactly what you expect from the biggest box office draw in the entire history of women's sports. She is the undisputed queen of the league, the economic engine that pays the bills, charters the flights, and commands the global spotlight. No surprises there. But then you start scrolling down the timeline. You look at Lexi Hull, a solid, hard-working rotational piece who spaces the floor. She sits at a very respectable 73,000 views. You look at Justine Pissot, a developmental player who the fans absolutely adore for her lethal shooting potential. She is sitting right on Lexi's tail with 65,000 views. But then, you see a number that completely, violently shatters the mainstream WNBA hierarchy. Sophie Cunningham, the newly acquired enforcer, the player who brings pure, unadulterated fire to the hardwood. Sophie Cunningham's official roster post generated 357,000 views. Do you comprehend the magnitude of that number? Do you understand what that means for the business of the WNBA? Caitlin Clark is sitting at 378,000. Sophie Cunningham is right there, breathing directly down her neck at 357,000. This metric tells us absolutely everything we need to know about the new WNBA consumer. Mainstream sports fans know exactly who Sophie Cunningham is. They love her unapologetic, infectious energy. They love her physical toughness. They love the fact that she openly embraces the villain role, shoots the absolute lights out of the gym, and refuses to back down from anyone who tries to intimidate her teammates. She is exactly the kind of enforcer that Caitlin Clark desperately needed last season when she was getting physically battered on a nightly basis. Meanwhile, let us look at the other side of the coin. Let us look at Kelsey Mitchell, an incredible veteran, a foundational piece of the Indiana franchise for years, and a highly paid star who just signed a massive Supermax contract extension. Her official roster post pulled in just 31,000 views. 31,000 views compared to Sophie Cunningham's 357,000. Let me be very clear here. This is absolutely not hate towards Kelsey Mitchell. She is a phenomenal, elite basketball player who can score with the best of them. But this metric is a horrifying wake-up call reality check for the Indiana Fever marketing department and the league office. These numbers prove mathematically that the fans do not care about the old WNBA establishment. They do not care about tenure. They do not care about who has been in the league the longest. They care about the new energy. They care about the players who entertain them, who bring raw passion to the floor, and who perfectly complement Caitlin Clark's electric, fast-paced style of play. And more importantly, they absolutely despise anyone who tries to stand in the way of that entertainment. Which brings us to the absolute catastrophe, the digital massacre. The moment the Fever public relations team realized they had completely, totally lost the locker room of public opinion. In their infinite, disconnected wisdom, the Indiana Fever social media team decided to post a congratulatory graphic for head coach Stephanie White. They proudly announced to the world that she was selected as an assistant coach for USA Basketball in the upcoming World Cup. The executives sitting in the front office honestly thought this was a brilliant PR move. They thought the fans would politely clap. They thought the fans would show blind respect to the coaching pedigree. They thought they could artificially manufacture some positive momentum for a head coach who has been under incredibly heavy fire for her atrocious preseason tactical decisions. Instead, the fans hijacked the post and turned the comment section into an absolute bloodbath. It was a complete, violent rejection of the corporate propaganda. Let me read you the exact words of the people who actually pay for the overpriced tickets and the expensive merchandise. Because this is the voice of the consumer. One fan replied, "Puke emojis. Stop promoting this awful coach. It does not make us like her anymore. How about stop trying to force us to glaze her? She destroyed the Vanderbilt program. Let us pause right there. She destroyed the Vanderbilt program. That is a highly educated basketball fan. That is not a casual viewer who just tuned in yesterday. That is someone who actually took the time to research Stephanie White's coaching history. They looked at her disastrous, highly criticized tenure at Vanderbilt University, where the collegiate team consistently underperformed, and they are absolutely terrified that she is bringing that exact same passive, losing culture to Indianapolis. When the fans are openly citing your college coaching failures in the comments section, you have completely lost the narrative. Another incredibly sharp fan wrote, "Ticket sales plummeted since she came to Indiana. The fans have spoken. They do not like the lies from the front office or the questionable figures like Stephanie." You can practically feel the heat radiating off the screen. This is a fan base that remembers the painful history. They remember being lied to by the front office last season about the severity of player injuries. They remember the confusing, momentum-killing roster rotations. They remember media darlings carrying water for Stephanie White and trying to convince the world that the Indiana Fever actually play better basketball when Caitlin Clark is not running the primary point guard position. Yes, the fans absolutely remember that. They remember the sports media trying to actively gaslight them into believing that taking the basketball out of the hands of the greatest visionary passer in the world was somehow a genius next-level strategic move. Listen to the absolute unfiltered disgust in these other comments. Is she going to try to keep CC off the ball in the World Cup too? She will ruin that too. This is the dumbest coach in the league. You have the player coaches would literally die for, and White is doing everything she can to kill CC's brand. As long as she leaves CC alone, I do not care what she does. The fans are literally accusing Stephanie White of playing defense against her own superstar player. They are accusing her of running outdated, sluggish, archaic plays, and stubbornly refusing to put Caitlin Clark in the exact position she was genetically engineered to play. And what is the WNBA establishment's response to this massive, undeniable tidal wave of customer dissatisfaction? How do the highly paid executives handle a massive fan base that is actively revolting against their product? They blame the YouTubers. They blame the podcasters. They call independent media a cesspool of trolls. The establishment wants to pretend that independent media has some sort of magical, hypnotic mind control over hundreds of thousands of grown, highly intelligent, tax-paying basketball fans. They want to desperately believe that if channels like WNBA She Serves stopped making videos tomorrow, the fans would suddenly suffer from amnesia, fall head over heels in love with the off-the-ball strategy, buy season tickets, and blindly cheer for a broken, fundamentally flawed offensive system. It is the most arrogant, delusional, and financially self-destructive mindset in the entire history of the sports business. Listen to me very carefully. I do not tell the fans how to feel. I do not have to. The fans already know what they are watching. We just hand them the digital microphone. We highlight the raw truth that the mainstream television broadcasts absolutely refuse to talk about because they are terrified of losing their press credentials. We show the exact, unfiltered comments that the Indiana Fever front office is desperately trying to delete, bury, and hide from their corporate sponsors. And I am completely, 100% unapologetic about it. If the Indiana Fever roll out a garbage product on the hardwood, if they park the greatest, most dynamic point guard of a generation in the corner to act as a decoy, and if they try to manipulate the fan base with cheap PR stunts and heavily edited, mic'd-up practice videos, we are going to expose it. Every single time. The fan base is fully alert. They are wide awake. They track the ticket sales on the secondary market. They watch the film breakdowns. And they absolutely refuse to be treated like stupid, blind consumers who will just swallow whatever garbage the league puts on their plate. The WNBA establishment is absolutely terrified right now because they have finally realized the ultimate truth. They do not control the narrative anymore. The fans do. The regular season officially starts, on Saturday. The bright lights of national television are going to be shining directly on Gamebridge Fieldhouse. The entire basketball world will be watching every single possession, every single defensive rotation, and every single interaction between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. The pressure on this coaching staff is absolutely unbearable. If they come out and lay an egg on opening night, the digital massacre we just witnessed in the comment section will look like a polite disagreement. This is WNBA She Serves. We are the only channel on this platform willing to look the establishment directly in the eye and tell you the harsh, unfiltered financial truths that the mainstream media is absolutely terrified to touch. If you want the deepest, most uncompromising, high-energy basketball content on the internet, do not just sit there. Smash that subscribe button right now and join the family. We are building an army of educated basketball fans who demand accountability. Hit the like button to feed the algorithm and force YouTube to push the truth to the masses. And most importantly, I need to hear from you. Drop your unfiltered, brutally honest take in the comment section below. Do you think the Fever front office is in full panic mode right now? Is Stephanie White's ego going to ruin the opening night game against Dallas? And are you shocked that Sophie Cunningham is completely dominating the engagement metrics over the established veterans? I want every single theory, every single tactical breakdown, and every single opinion in that comment section. Hit the notification bell, because opening night is almost here. The stakes have literally never been higher, and this standoff between the fans and the front office is about to reach its absolute climax. We will see you on the next massive breakdown.